We understand more about the surface of the moon and Mars than we do of our own oceans. So collecting that data is difficult. The ocean environment is difficult to work in. So AUVs kind of help us do that. Hydroid is a dynamic and constantly changing environment. The technology is rapidly developing and we're right on the cutting edge of it. So it's really exciting to be here to put this kind of technology together and make this technology available to the people who actually want to collect this data. So we go from the bench, from the lab to sea to the customer's hands very rapidly. So very dynamic, very exciting environment. Here we obviously test all of our robots at sea, and getting us there requires a little bit of work. We start out by doing some benchtop testing to make sure all of our systems are working, make sure we have the software loaded that we want, and make sure we truly understand the mission that we're trying to go out and do.
So every step with testing a vehicle is very critical, detail-oriented.
Goes all the way through testing every sensor that is on that vehicle to make sure it's 100% ready to go.
We also have to understand that the vehicle is trimmed and ballasted properly, right? Is it going to float properly in the water conditions that we have? Each vehicle is a little bit different, so they get a little bit different of a ballasting and trim configuration that goes on there. A technician or an engineer will typically come down, make sure that the interface with the robot looks good. Very importantly, make sure all the emergency and auxiliary gear works. So we communicate acoustically, we communicate via Wi-Fi, we'll communicate via satellite. So all that testing needs to be done before we actually go to sea.
Anything that goes into it, you want to make sure everything's ready to roll, so you can explain to the people during a TRR, which is a meeting we have before we take things to sea, that you're ready to roll, you're confident that the vehicle is ready to perform.
The morning meeting is vitally important so everyone understands their roles and responsibilities. We have a good idea of what the weather conditions are going to be like, and make sure everyone has a clear idea of what they're going to try to execute that day. Because once we're done with that morning meeting, everybody rolls out onto the boat and is off and running.
We know who our crew is going to be, and we know, if we're going to need any other resources from the company, and they're always very helpful about getting those to us, as long as we have that meeting in the beginning to let everyone know what's going to happen for the rest of the day.
Any questions that we have, either as QC, field techs, or even my manager, project managers have, they get ironed out in that meeting.
It gives us an overarching plan for everything we do.
So once we understand how that's going to work out, a technician will typically get the vehicle off the bench and into the purpose-built vehicle case that has rails and shock mounts that allow it to be transported safely over land and sea and keep it safe while it's on the boat.
When we take these out to sea, they're going from the floor to the back of a flatbed truck or a pickup truck, and bumpy roads, and down a boat ramp onto the back of a boat. And if these things aren't properly secured inside their cases, instruments can be damaged, fins can be damaged, a lot of different things can go wrong. So it's very important that we get these things loaded up correctly.
We'll also take with us and check out all the auxiliary gear that we would bring. We communicate acoustically with the vehicle, so we'll have a tow fish and a ranger that will actually have two-way communication with the vehicle, so we understand where it's at and what its condition's at. Other gear we might bring would be acoustic transponders, which will be tested to aid the vehicle's navigation subsea using long baseline navigation.
Once again, just like the bench testing, we have a document, it's called the closure sheet, that we must fill out, date, sign, and have a second person go back through and check our work as well.
Much of our testing includes not only field technicians but engineering input into those testings. So there's quite a good collaboration down here on the floor between those of us who work upstairs and those who actually have to execute those missions. So it is truly a collaboration.
In order to maximize an effective sea day, we have to make sure everyone comes together, whether it's at the boat board meeting, loading the vehicle, testing the vehicle, or even bringing the vehicle down onto the boat and getting it into the water. Everyone has to come together and do their part.
Myself and the field techs, we always have each other's backs.
There's no cutting corners here. We are supplying a product to the United States government and other institutions, and they expect A+ work, and that's what we're going to deliver.